Homesteader family, welcome back to the journey and welcome to this edition of the Sunday Monday vlog. I'm going to go over real quick what this week has produced, things that have been happening, and then I'll get into a chat with anybody that jumps in on homesteading and give you guys idea on why freedom is homesteading, homesteading is freedom, and the reasons why you might want to consider homesteading. So this week, I've been out, I've been clearing woods, been hauling some of the logs up to the home site to stack up, to dry out for this upcoming winter. So that way I have firewood pre-seasoned, ready to go. I'll cut it later this year, probably closer to summertime. So then it will completely dry out in log form and then be ready to start burning firewood next winter. Um, had to haul a little bit of water for the animals because we had some really warm, beautiful days. So on warm, beautiful days, animals drink a lot more water. They go through a lot more than on colder days. On colder days, they tend not to drink as much water. And the really hot days, they really go through a lot of water. So warm days, not too bad, but I did have to haul water, did feeding every day. Several times I would get to the homestead and there's people there at the homestead at the fence petting the animals, or they pull up when I get there and they're like, is it okay to take my grandkids or my kids or whatever up to the fence to see the animals? And of course, that's why I put the fence right there on the road. So that way everybody in this community can enjoy the animals without me doing what I did in Colorado, opening a petting zoo. But the most exciting news is the little baby Zebu. I'll probably film him maybe tomorrow because tomorrow looks like it's going to be halfway decent to be able to get back over and do some work. But the baby Zebu, for those of you that heard when he was first born, he has severe knuckling. So his legs are stuck at like an L, 90 degree, but worse. And I got a picture of him. He was actually on 3 legs yesterday. And really exciting to see him starting to stretch the one leg out, especially since Big Mama won't let me get in there and mess with his legs anymore, which is good in a way and bad in a way. I did want to keep doing the physical therapy, but that is freeing me up to do more work in the woods. And the good part of it is he's bonding. She's getting that mother instinct. She's not losing that. So that way, when she has the baby another year and a half, the next baby, then she'll be a good mom once again. Zebu are pretty wild, and they tend, if they lose a baby or you take a baby away, then the next baby they don't want anything to do with, or they just leave the baby there. So that's the best news. Is his one leg looks like a boomerang, so it's like that, a slight bend, not 90 plus degree bent up underneath. The other leg is still bent, but he's working that one leg, and he keeps trying to walk on those 3 legs, and then using his elbow on the second front leg to get around. So hopefully, fingers crossed. A lot of different ranchers I talked to back in Colorado and different people here and everything that I talked to said severe cases, and the internet said severe cases, they normally put the babies down and then they sell it as veal, since it's a baby cow. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to lose him. So I still got him. He's still doing good. He's still nursing. Big Mama's being a really good mama to him. And I'll probably try to make a video tomorrow. So I had some very nice, beautiful, warm days. I got a lot of work going, clearing the woods, clearing that driveway. Then we had some rain. Yesterday we got a healthy amount of rain. Today was off and on rain all day. So today I stayed here, watched movies, watched TV, and I actually just woke up about half an hour ago because I put on a movie and just fell asleep here on the couch. I got Max right here, laying across my lap, and just passed out, fell asleep, did my thing. You can see that the dogs besides Max, we got Chubbers right there on the floor, Minnie Mouse over there. She don't look comfortable at all. Mickey Mouse over there, and just a couple coals in the fire. It's not too bad. Did go and stack the firewood when I got home from feeding the animals. And then right here, we got Mr. Max. Just sleeping away, being a handsome fellow. So that's been pretty much my week. doing that. I did meet a neighbor down the street. I'm not sure if I talked about it in 2021, I believe it was, that somebody had set their place on fire about a quarter to half a mile from my homestead. There's only a couple properties in between. Right after I moved out here, and I actually got to meet the person. And turns out he lives right down the road. He's born and raised here. 23, just got a mortgage and bought the 52 acres there. And he's working on clearing. He wants to get cattle and goat and do like a ranching type thing, not quite a homesteading. But everybody around here in St. Joe, they all have cattle. A lot of people, they're doing the cattle business. So if things ever did get horribly bad, there's a lot of meat source here in Searcy County, Arkansas. Not to mention the elk, the deer, the fruit trees. I mean, you name it. There's plenty of food sources here in Arkansas, and that's where I'm going to branch off now and go into why you might want to consider homesteading, why homesteading is freedom, why freedom is homesteading. And that is for the simple reason, like I just showed you, the wood stove over here. I'm seeing a lot of people having issues online with the cold weather in different states, because I have people from all around that are friends with me on Facebook. I might not know them, but people send because they follow me here on YouTube, or they follow me on Instagram, which I don't do much on Instagram. But they send me a Facebook friends request so that way they can see my life along with today's homesteader, on seeing my today's homesteader Facebook page and YouTube and everything else. And I'm seeing a lot of people talk about with the cold that their power goes down. They have no lights. They have no heat. They have no way to cook and things like that. And if we go back, I'm going to recommend this once again. I've said this a lot of times throughout the years. Frontier House was a TV show back in 2000, 2001. It was three families. They had to go out. Some of them had log cabins already built for them. Some of them had to finish log cabins, or some of them had to build log cabins from the ground up. And basically what it was families going back to the old-fashioned way of homesteading and learning what it took. They went from city life to where they couldn't have makeup, they couldn't have blow dryers, they didn't have any power tools, and they had to live the way the original homesteaders did. For those of you that are interested in not only watching Frontier House, but if you're interested in what life could be like if the grid goes down, if we go into civil unrest, if a sun flare happens, if a million things happen. You know, you look at the old TV show Doomsday Preppers, and they have all the different scenarios. But if you want to see how hard life could be if something like that happens nowadays, it's a good idea to watch those shows and see what it's going to take, how many hours it's going to take to produce food, how many hours a day you have to work to maintain a type of life, and life without electronics and luxuries and everything else. And that's one thing a lot of people take for granted. The lights come on when you flick the switch. The toilet flushes when you press the flapper. You got the refrigerator, freezer. But what happens if that all goes away? If all that goes away, then we're back in the old-fashioned way of homesteading. And it's not the end of life. It's not the end of times. It's going to be a change of life. Homesteaders survived. People survive thousands of years without electricity. They survived thousands of years without refrigerators, without plumbing inside, without lights in the house and everything else. And that's why I think homesteading is a source of freedom. It is a way to freedom in the aspect of a lot of houses right now, you don't have a wood stove. This is one example, and this goes a million ways. So with a wood stove, let's just go with that for right now. You have a source of heat. A person with electric heater in their house, the electric goes out, they freeze. Most likely, their electric heater is not running because there's no electricity. Most likely, they have a electric range stove to cook on. That's not working. Their refrigerator, everything else is down as well. With a wood stove, your electric goes out, you've got heat, you've got a source to cook on, whether it's a wood stove like this or a real wood cooking stove that has the oven section and things like that. You're able to heat, you're able to cook. You have a source of light inside of the room wherever the stove is, unless you have solid steel doors where you don't have glass like I have. Um, you have ash. Now you're wondering, what's ash got to do with anything? Ash, charcoal, etc. Well, for homesteaders, you're putting your ash, your charcoal, and everything from your wood stove into your compost piles, into your garden. You can put it out for your chickens to take dust baths in. It helps control mites, kill lice, and things like that when you're chickens. Um, you can use charcoal and everything to filter water. And that one wood stove, just one thing of homesteading, just solved all these different issues. Where nowadays you've got to go, you got to work a job to pay for electric bill, to pay to have electric brought onto your property if you don't have it on your property, to run your stove, then you're paying a monthly electric bill, and it just snowballs. And before you know it, you're working most of your life working for the luxuries that if you put a little time and effort into a wood stove, you've got freedom. Also, like I say, if the grid's down, all those people are tied up, not knowing what they're going to do unless they have backup propane heater or if they by chance have a wood stove, where homesteading and homesteaders set themselves up for success, not failures. If the grid goes down, my lights go out. Right back here, I've showed before, I have probably a dozen hurricane lamps. I have a bunch of extra wicks stocked up. I have several gallons of kerosene fluid for the lamps. So if my power goes out, only thing I'm going to lose is the stuff in the fridge because I'm connected to the grid. Now, when I go out onto the homestead and build my place, I'm going to be having solar. I'm going to have a backup generator. I'm going to have all these different things set up. So if something happens or something goes down, I have a way to maintain my way of life, even though it's not the luxury way of life. I also, on the north side of the property, down below the cliffs, the 300-foot drop off from the house site, where it's super cold. And my buddy Steve came out here in December, and he could tell as soon as we went around, I mean, that cold air just snaps you. And even during the summer, you go back there, it's a lot colder than it is anywhere else. And I plan to do a cinder block or gabion basket. I'm not sure what type of thing I'm going to do, but I'm going to be building a root cellar. That's another thing a lot of people don't do anymore. Most people nowadays don't have a root cellar. They don't have a way to chill food or cool food down or store food, where if the grid goes down in your house and you lose everything in your fridge and freezer, that's money down the drain. And because you live in the city, most likely you don't have chickens, you don't have hogs, or you don't have livestock guardian dogs like the Anatolian shepherds that can eat the food. So at least you're not throwing the food in the trash and wasting that money. If I have chips that go bad, or crackers that go bad, or bread that grows a little bit of mold, I've got livestock that I can feed that to. I have no food waste. So no matter what type of food I buy, I've got a way to dispose of it without losing money. That's another pro of homesteading. And then, of course, if I would butcher out hogs and my cattle and goats and things like that, then I have my own meat source. Another thing with homesteading that I've seen from 2016 when I got into it until roughly 2019 before everything happened in 2020 was, for those 3 years, I would see people making fun of homesteaders and farmers and stuff like that, that they put all this time and effort into growing vegetables and getting chickens and things like that. because, oh, I can go to the grocery store and get a bell pepper for 40 cents. I can go to the store and get a dozen eggs for $1.50. Why would I spend all that money on chickens? Well, like the old saying goes, the chickens are coming home to roost. You lay in the bed you make. All these different sayings apply right now because eggs are $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 a dozen. Vegetables are getting more and more expensive. I think bell peppers now are $1.25. Um, and that's just one bell pepper. You have a family of four, family of six. That's over $10 to supply food, just vegetables, if you're doing stuffed peppers. Meat supply, meat's gone up a lot. Everything's gone up. Inflation's gone up. But if you're homesteading and you have a small farm and you have some livestock and you got chickens and you have all these different things, then you're set up for life going forward. It gives you a sense of security. It gives you a sense of freedom. With that freedom, you don't have to work as many hours trying to supply money to buy things from somebody else when you're supplying and producing it on your own homestead. So I just wanted to push that out there to you guys on one thing to consider. Homesteading is a source of freedom. It is not a cheap lifestyle. However, a lot of people don't understand that homesteading can be super, super, super cheap. It can be one of the cheapest things out there. However, you also have to take into consideration for the cheapest type of homesteading is sacrificing all luxuries, because you can go out just like a homeless person. You can live in a little hobo tarp tent like I've done in the past and have your chickens there on a little bit of land, grow your vegetables and things like that, and not have to have a lot of money to live. If you do that, that's almost total freedom. You still have to come up with money because nowadays society is set up where you need everything now, and you still need money to be able to be a part of this world. If not, homeless people wouldn't be out there asking for money. They'd just be doing their little thing out underneath bridges and stuff like that. Um, but if you're willing to make the sacrifice, you can go very cheap to homesteading. You can get pallets. You can do all that hard manual labor of tearing them apart, putting them back together, bending nails back straight where you're not buying new nails. So there's a lot of stuff you can do, and you can watch a million of the different YouTube channels out there showing you how you can upcycle and recycle everything. Um, it's a lot of labor, a lot of time, but if that's what you want to do, if you don't want any type of luxuries, it's very, very feasible to do that. The only main thing you're going to have to most likely find is money to buy land, because you're going to need land to homestead if you really want to survive like homesteaders did in the past. Of course, they had a lot more acreage back then. You can always start out on a quarter acre, find a half acre, and just keep fixing the properties up. Find trash properties, find properties that are nothing but briar bushes. Take that time, clear out all the briar bushes, save up some money, get some seed, get it into grass, sell the property at a profit. Say you buy something for $1,000 for a quarter acre, fix it up, sell it for $2,500, because then it's a nice grass plot. Somebody sees more value in that than a bunch of briar patches or really dense, thick woods that you can't do nothing with, or a property that has a bunch of garbage on it. You can always bring in soil and build up the soil to after you pick up the trash and clean up contaminants and things like that. So these are things you might want to think about to get into homesteading if you don't have a lot of money. It doesn't have to be the prettiest property. It doesn't have to be the nicest, newest thing out there. And that's one thing society has changed from community. Is back in community days, we weren't worried about looks. We weren't worried about the nice white picket fence, two-story house, the new Bentley in the driveway. Now it's the McMansions and the Corvettes and all the designer cars. So homesteading can be a source of freedom. You may have to sacrifice some of your luxuries and things like that, unless you have a bunch of money to get solar and windmills and things like that to go farther into the more luxurious side of homesteading. It will be more expensive, but you can enjoy that freedom of homesteading with luxuries if you have that money to do that. So, with that, I hope everybody has a great week. Tomorrow, like I said, is supposed to be a nice day. Then, rest this week, we got off and on rain. We got possible snow Tuesday. So, not sure how much work I'm going to be able to get done this week. But I do plan to at least connect today's Homesteader Lane, the driveway that I'm putting through, that I'm going to name today's Homesteader Lane, over to Purdom Lane, from Gregory over to Purdom Lane. So I'm hoping to have that at least completed, because I have the forestry mulching couple coming May 1st. So I need that done, and I want to do a bunch of other work. Of course, they're not going to be able to do everything that I'm going to have done, but I do want to try to get as much cleared and taken care of before tick season starts, before all the leaves are in, the humidity's high, and before all the leaves are sprouted and things weigh a ton with the weight of the wood. Right now, it's all dry and everything else. So, with that, I hope everybody has a great week. Get out there, do something productive. Try to get into homesteading. For those of you that have not watched Frontier House, I highly, highly, highly recommend you go and watching that series. And with that, live happy, live free. That's the only way to be. Enjoy.